were doing the same thing up in Fresno.
Yeah.
Same thing in Fresno. Yeah, Fresno was great. I mean, the drive was not great at all. It's like, I was like so tired. But great team. Luke and Matt Ritchie, Delon, and Becca and myself got to lead worship. Isaiah and David Connell were in that production, so it was like pretty much like a no-fail experience. If anything could go wrong, they were like, but it won't. So we were like, great. The people there, like, this is such a good perspective. So this congregation in Fresno, they've continued meeting for the past like 16, 18 months with no pastor. There's just been this core group of people, like maybe 25, 30 people who just continue meeting. And crazy story, the daughter of a woman at the church went to Sandals years ago, moved back to Fresno, told her mom about Sandals, and 16 months ago reached out to Ron McCoy and says, hey, would you talk to us? So for 16 months, we've been in communication with them, all this. So yesterday, and it's this woman, like she's probably in her, what would you say, Nancy, like maybe in her 50s?
Yeah,
Late 50s?
late 50s.
I'm old, I'm like, I don't know, she could be 37, I have no idea. But she's just been this leader, she's been holding it together, they've been active in the community, they're watching Sandals messages on video every week, and like putting up some worship, like people that are local, they've just been like holding it down like in hopes that they could become a Sandals church. So yesterday when I'm up there leading worship with Becca, we're singing Grateful, and she's in the back of the room with her hands up, and she's sobbing. It's like she can't even, and we gave out all those real white t-shirts because we're trying to get rid of them. She put it over her shirt, and like she just was white. It was like, this is, and for us, I think I gave the message on Slack on production channel, which I really appreciated. It was just this reminder of, we're so deep in the grind doing what we're doing, and that was such a great perspective to step outside of it and see what so many churches are experiencing every weekend. They're dying, people aren't showing up, they don't have, like, I met the guy who was their production guy, and I was like, you're so sweet. And he was a dear, but he can't, he might just be in a different role. And so they're doing the best they can. And they've been doing this week in and week out for almost 2 years with no hope of this may just fold and die, like, or we'll begin to be, and so it was just this beautiful experience that I was like so thrilled to be a part of. But it just kind of gave me that extra oomph, and I'm trying to share that oomph with you, that what we're doing really matters, what people are experiencing on the weekend at Sandals really matters, and the execution of the service really matters. So we gotta be at the top of our game. We gotta care, we gotta work, we gotta prep, we gotta fill in where we need to fill in, we gotta do that thing that we don't feel like doing, because all of it matters, like all of it matters. So here's what we're gonna talk about today. We're gonna talk about building and caring for your teams. This is something I've done with worship, but it's always good to have a refresher, because what we all have in common in this room is we can't do what we do without teams. Can't do what we do without teams. So if you showed up to lead worship this weekend, you showed up and there were people there to serve alongside of you. If you showed up to run production, there were some volunteers who showed up to run it alongside of you. And thank God, because we can't do it without teams. And you know about those weekends where your team is thin, or your team is you and your acoustic. You know that feeling. You get that little bit diarrhea, like, but you just know, I can't help it. It's just, and it gave me a look, like, I try so hard. I know. My birthday's coming up. If you want to design a shirt with a poop emoji, I will wear it, okay? Because it's totally my thing. Teams really matter. And the reason why we're going to talk about today is because if you're not leading your team well, if you're not caring for them, if you're not building a team, chances are the team that you have, they're not having fun. The other chance is they're a volunteer and they don't have to come back. like they don't have to show up next week. They can decline, right? We all know what that's like. That sea, Delon used to be drowning in them sea of declines. He was like, Lord Jesus, please give this to somebody else. Because they're volunteers. We can't make them. We can't make them. We pray, we encourage. But here's what I'm convinced of, this as I'm a seasoned ministry leader, many, many years. When you know how to build a team and you know how to care for a team, they will keep coming back. Mm-hmm. You'll hit slumps, you'll hit bombs, because you can't just care without building, and you can't just build without caring. They have to go together. So I would encourage you to take notes, because this is going to be very applicable to you if you're a Robo leader, bullpen leader, campus worship leader, network worship leader, production network, production campus. This applies. It applies to everybody. So let's first talk about the very most important thing you do as a leader. If you are leading without casting vision, you've missed the most important step. So it looks like this. Hey, I've got no one on lights this week. Can you just come in and run lights? I mean, I know you probably have stuff to do, but I just really need someone. I don't know. That's a really lame invitation to come run lights for you. I'd be like, no, yeah, I do got better stuff to do. There's like a true crime Netflix marathon. I'm busy. Right? Casting vision is huge. And you don't cast vision once. You don't go, remember back in October when I talked about why we do what we do? No, you're casting vision again and again and again and again. Why? Because vision ignites people to serve. It ignites. Why do we keep doing momentum updates? Remember when you said last fall you would give to momentum? We keep casting vision for here's what's happening and here's why. Because we need people to continue investing and continue giving. We need to let the momentum continue. So here's what casting vision looks like. You're creating excitement, right? And you know what it's hard to create excitement? Go driving up the mountain 5:30 on a Sunday morning, right, Christina Crowley? Right? Right? It's not fun. It's early. I heard that green room was sad. There's so many things about it. So what are you doing? You're casting vision, you're sharing vision. Stories are a huge way to get people bought in. At Lake Arrowhead, I would be saying this over and over and over again. This time last year, there was hardly anyone here. There's going to be close to 500 people here today. Almost a year ago, these doors were about to shut. But God has brought new life. If I could have recorded Jack Leatham's message yesterday to Fresno, he was fired. He talked about how God resurrects. God's resurrecting what was dead and bringing it back to life in Fresno. That's what God did at Lake Arrowhead. It was close to dead, and God brought it back to life. And how did God bring it back to life? By Sandals Church coming in and infusing new vision and new life. And you're a part of that today by being here to run production. And you're a part of that by being here today to lead worship. Stories. The way that you connect people to stories is first you have some to share, but you talk about your own. What motivates you to get up at the crack of dawn to come run production? Your team probably wants to know that. Your team probably wants to know why it matters to you. Guys, here's why I get up. Guys, here's why I'm not pursuing that job that pays a lot more money, because my heart is connected to the vision of this church and I believe in it. And guys, we couldn't do this without you. It matters to me, and that's awesome, but the fact that it matters to you, the fact that you're showing up to set up Eastvale and to tear it down every week, we don't know the people who are sitting in these chairs every week who are experiencing change because we came up and made this service possible, but this is what it's about. This becomes your verbiage on the regular. You can't go back to remember last March we talked about, no, this is something we're talking about all the time, because people are connected to vision and people are inspired by vision. Caveat, people are not inspired by you talking about how tired you are. I'm just going to put that out there. Everybody's tired. Everybody's tired. Everyone's working hard. There's no, you have the corner on the market on how hard you're working. Everyone's working hard. And you just well, I know, I was here till and I was up. That's not inspiring people. In fact, what you may be doing is the opposite. You may be convincing volunteers that this isn't a great place to work because look how tired my leader always is. No one cares about them. Be tired and then take a nap. Be tired and then be rejuvenated in your spirit. Get tired, hit a slump and then decide that you're gonna roll your sleeves up and push through and work through it. Because ministry is hard. That's the other ongoing mantra. This will always be hard. Because in case you didn't know, this isn't about lights and audio and microphones and worship songs. It's about an ever-present enemy who we are the target. The church, the American church is the target because that's what provides the resources around the world to bring people to the gospel. So he's going to attack every pastor. He's going to attack their marriage. He's going to attack their family. He's going to attack volunteers. He's on the prowl. He's never relenting. He's never done. So we're going to get tired. We're going to get bruised. We're going to get disappointed. We're going to get frustrated. We're going to get irritated. And yet we press on. Because eternity holds our reward over there. So we keep going. So you've got to cast vision. Ignite passion by linking your ministry with building the church and investing in the kingdom of God. If we don't do this for our teams, they don't get it, right? Like if we're not saying you leading worship, right? You just infuse the people in this room with a different perspective about God. You just got people in the room who are hurting, who are broken, who are anxious, who are depressed, to be open to healing and light and mercy and forgiveness. Do you know how many times I've heard from people in the audience about the countenance of the people on stage? That's why we can't be glued to our iPads. Because as we're singing about the joy of the Lord, it's hard to convince people when we're like, the joy, like it doesn't resonate. But when we're free and we're heads up, and we're singing, here's what's true for me, here's who you've been to me, and I get to declare this to these people, it affects them. There was a lady yesterday in Fresno who sat on the front row, right in front of Becca, and she sobbed from beginning to end. I don't mean she broke down, I mean she wept the entire time. What is the Spirit of God doing in her life? I don't know, but we got to be a part of it. We just got to be a part of it. We didn't orchestrate it, we didn't set it on fire, we just got to be a part of it. That's incredible. That's huge. That's holy. That's sacred. That's Moses at the burning bush. Take your feet off. Take your shoes off. God's choosing to use me in this way. I am not worthy, but yet here I am. This isn't pushing levers. This isn't finding new cables. This isn't restringing the guitar. This isn't you got your solo or you didn't. This is kingdom stuff that we're getting to do and be a part of. And that's the vision that we're connecting people to and drawing them into. And listen, you're reminding your team that what they're doing has eternal value, and you're thanking them to the point of exhaustion. If the people on your team don't know that you're grateful for them, you're this close to losing them if you haven't already. And sometimes they're more spiritually mature than you are, so they keep serving in spite of your lack of leadership. But I'm telling you, and I'm challenging you to grow. Like if you've gone through a week as a worship leader production lead and you haven't told one volunteer how grateful you are, you're not getting this right. You're not getting it right. Because that takes, you don't have to be the magnanimous, upfront person. It's a text. Dude, I love serving with you. You rock. Dude, you killed that. Dude, I love watching you light. I love watching your production booth as you're doing, you're amazing. That does not take any sort of special set of skills. You don't have to have the spiritual gift of exhortation to appreciate your team. You just get to do it. And we have to be doing this all the time. Because what we do trickles down, and our volunteers start doing it. Our ROGO leaders now, it's embedded in their DNA, and they're doing it, and it continues. If we don't do it, we're on the verge of losing them. So casting vision has to be the first thing, the main thing, the thing that if you forget all the other things, you are remembering to cast vision for your team because it really matters. Okay? Now we're going to talk about defining expectations. Any 8s in the room? No.
Yeah, you know.
I just know this one. Okay. It isn't just 8s who appreciate clarity. Everyone appreciates clarity.
Yep.
I writhe in pain from the lack of it, but everybody desires it. Everybody desires it. When you have not defined expectations for your team, you cannot be upset when they don't execute well. That is on you.
Amen.
You did not define expectations for them. That's why we come up with the weekend win. We fixed that because I added a P. I was like, people, that's the third P, and we reshot it, and it's gonna go out again. But we have a weekend win for worship and production. It's about people, it's about presence, it's about preparation. Those three things. So we have things to evaluate people on, but we have to define expectations so that anyone serving on our teams, they know what to do, they know how to do it, and we can equip them. And anytime we find out we haven't, we don't go, oh, sorry. That becomes our number one priority. We have to figure that out. If we miss something in a new musician training, we don't go, oh, no, we circle back and we double down and we make sure that they know that. Clarity matters. What do you want them to do? What do you want them to do? If production, if it's, this is what time you have to be here for this, then they have to know that. They have to know how to get in the building, where to park, like, so many logistics that when you just know, you think that other people don't know, they don't know, they need to know. How often and when should they check in? How often should they be preparing prior to the weekend? Do not take for granted that people practice as much as you do. And actually, I'll leave this between you and the Holy Spirit. Pray that sometimes people practice more than you do. Production, we need to put a value of preparation on our volunteer teams. They shouldn't be coming in Thursday and going, what? Oh! Like they've got access to PCO just like everybody else. They should know who the leads are. They should know who's hosting. They should know the transitions. Side note, a lot of work is going into hosting starting this week, so just know that. But all the information is there, and we have been working really hard to get information up there as quick as possible. Now, because of my expanded role, I'm getting information on the front end, and through Luke, it's being dispensed to Planning Center like right away. There's going to be a census that we take as a church in October. The date's already settled. We already know. It's already plugged in. They actually just changed it, Luke, but that's okay. We'll get to that later today. But it's in October. You're not finding out about it. You're not like, oh, I didn't know this was in there. So everybody has access to information. So everybody should be preparing. Everyone should be walking into Thursday really well equipped with what the whole service looks like. I am working really, really hard to make sure any video shown over the weekend is always up and ready to go by rehearsal. So that everyone on the team can see it, knows about it, all that stuff. I'm applying as much pressure as I can without violating HR, okay? What are your expectations? Here's the thing that's frustrating when you're serving under someone's leadership. And you can probably think of someone who's been like this for you. For me, it was my field hockey coach in high school. He would like scream at us during halftime for not doing what we were supposed to, but he had clearly never told us that. We've never practiced it. We were always like, I was like, I don't think you know what you're doing. That's how I always felt in my heart. And probably said at some point, because I wasn't intentional in high school. But you can't get mad at people when they don't know what you expect of them. You can't look at your guitarist who showed up and goes, hey, I'm here to practice. And you're like, you haven't, like, this is your first time playing through the songs? There's people coming from their churches, guys, and that's how they think it works. They get put on the schedule and they think Thursday night is when we come and we all play through the songs together. That's not how we do it here. But that has to be communicated so that they know that. Promptness in serving. How people experience us while we're serving really matters. Like we have no room for divas or devos here. Like we don't. There's not a spot for that here. Not even one. Sorry. That's not schooling. That's funny. People should be respectful to each other. Worship leaders and production leads, you should model this first. When you're frustrated with your production lead, worship leader, your team can see that. You know what it's like when you watch your parents fight? And they're better parents than me and Adam because they try to hide it from their kids. Well, I'm just going to pay for my kids to go to therapy. Because I'm like, what? No, we've grown. But that tension, like he's really mad because you didn't, and you're mad because, and that's how you're leading. That's no one's dumb. Everyone can see that and sense that. So dig deep in what does kindness and respect look like for me, and then once I model it, then it's okay for me to expect it from my team. If there's a discrepancy or a disagreement on stage as, hey, here's how we're gonna end that song between the band leader and the worship leader, or whatever, everyone needs to just take a place of grace and humility. At the end of the day, the campus worship leader, the network worship, like, they're the final call on how that's gonna go, and everyone needs to defer and respect and go, okay, I understand how this works. But kindness and respect matters. Preparedness, engagement. The one thing that we have to not be afraid to do is when we're experiencing someone as not meeting the expectations or not rising to the standard, we don't need, that shouldn't look like this. They're on your team, they didn't do well. You go to your direct supervisor and tell them that they didn't do well. Your direct supervisor comes back to you and talks to you about how they could do better. Like, do you see all this unnecessary conversation? Here's what that should look like. You need to do better. Like, it's real simple. And I know confrontation and hard conversations, nothing has to be confrontational or hard or, hey, I don't know how to tell you this. It's just, hey. And that's why evaluation and feedback is a huge part of our culture now, because I don't know how we get better without it. I don't become a better version of myself if no one's ever telling me, here's how you could be a better version of yourself, right? So when you turn around, you go, hey, right there, or listen, the vibrato, it's really, really distracting, so I'm gonna flip-flop, I'm gonna have her sing it. Like, you don't let them go through the whole weekend with a really distracting vibrato, and then at the end, go back to your direct supervisor and go, man, she's got really bad vibrato. Well, what is she supposed to do about it? Like, have conversations. If you have learned, as a mature believer in Christ, how to season your words with grace, you can do it. Just don't be rude. Have the conversation with yourself first. How do you want to hear that? How do you want to experience that? Then that's how you say it. You don't need to take a course in correctional, meaningful conversation. You just say it with grace. Hey, I love you. I love your voice. I love your presence on our team. I've been listening really. The vibrato, it's pretty strong. It's actually I think it's a barrier to people engaging, and it's okay. Let's try to smooth it out. It doesn't get smooth out. Hey, listen, no worries. I'm gonna have her sing the first part of the song because that's sitting in the lower part of your register, but vibrato is really strong. You're gonna come in at the bridge. It'll sound beautiful. It'll be great. This is what teamwork is all about. Let's go, team. That's not to say that she won't cry or be upset or whatever, but you'll walk away knowing I led her the best way that I could in that situation, and I did what was best for the whole team, right? If you've got the guy on keys under the transition, and he's back there playing for Elise, and you gotta switch that, then you just switch it. You just go, hey, I love your classical taste. This just isn't the setting. I'm gonna have guitar guy just kind of put some swells in it. Like, it's just little conversations. We just gotta have them. We just gotta move on. Okay, we can't get stuck on those. It'll slow everything down. Do they have what they need to fulfill your expectations? One of the things that I discovered when I moved into worship was there were so many, I don't know if everyone knows that. I don't know if we've clearly, and I was just because I was a person on the team. I don't know if I've ever thought about that or if I need to know. When I say the least common denominator, I'm not talking about talent. I'm talking about everything that we do and say. We should be doing it and saying it with the person with the least amount of experience in mind. Don't attack communication with your teams like you're just talking to someone who knows what you know. You need to do the opposite. You need to think about the person who's not just new to Sandals, but they're new to Sandals East Valley, they're new to Sandals Woodcrest. They've never driven to Eastvale before, so Google Maps may say come this way, but you know this little back way that'll get them there faster. All of those things that we know because we're in this grind week in, week out, we need to be sharing that information. Because then, defining our expectations, they know it's expected. We can kind of hold them to that rather than, oh, they didn't know that. We might have acoustic guitars on our team who think they can just play their guitar all the time. Well, we need to explain why we don't do that. Why there's a acoustic guitar, and here's why. And any information that is helpful, we should just be dispensing it as often as we can, because it really matters. Access to you. This is a huge thing for me, because whenever I talk to volunteers, one thing that comes up is I wasn't sure who I was supposed to, there's always this, well, is it you? And that can get tricky in any campus and for any reason. I want you guys to be on the front lines. When you're leading for the weekend from worship, I want you to be communicating, hey, if you need anything or anything comes up, get in touch with me. And they need to know how to get in touch with you. So that needs to be very accessible. If you say, why do you still like give my email? Because I'm not comfortable giving my phone number. Well, if their car breaks down on Sunday morning, are you checking your email before you go? Whatever access information you give them, it better be because you're checking it all the time. Don't give them access information, say, oh, Slack me, but your Slack is on snooze all weekend. That's not helpful. And then they're frustrated and they're irritated and you might have lost a volunteer. So if you want someone to I need to know about this, then you better give them access information where you're gonna be responding in case of an emergency. Because you guys know these things happen. Spencer's wife that weekend, Spencer had to get in touch with Pablo, right away. His wife had to go to the hospital. There was no, he couldn't run. He just needed to be able to get directly to Pablo. That stuff just comes up when we serve volunteers. So you gotta make sure that you're giving them information that's helpful and that you're gonna respond to, okay? Don't set them up to fail by telling them to take the Pony Express. Okay. If you walk away today and you don't remember anything else that we've talked about to this point, that's a shame for you, but let's move past that. This is the thing that I want you to remember. This is the thing that makes or breaks teams, in my opinion. And I'm speaking about this from a person who's on teams and a person who leads teams. I'm speaking about this as a mom who has a family team at home. And when I don't get this right, I watch what it does to my kids. Every person that you are in contact with every single day of your life craves affirmation. I don't care what your love languages are. I don't care if words don't really matter. You're a liar. And it all matters. Okay? Every single person you come in contact with every single day craves affirmation. You never affirm someone and go, that was wasted words. It matters. And as leaders, we must celebrate our teams before we ever evaluate our teams. If they come into your huddle and they know that your huddle is going to be, here's where we all got it wrong, you're just taking the life out of your team, right? This is something that you can't do enough of. It's not something that you can just put to the side because your personality is more crusty and you're just all business. I don't care. I don't care what your personality type is or what you think and listen, I'm going to challenge you. If you are in a relationship, like you're married or you're dating or you're engaged or you're in a relationship with people, and you should go back to them and say, do you feel affirmed by me? Because if they tell you no, chances are you don't do a good job with this. And you need to grow in this. And a lot of times we don't affirm people for various reasons, but sometimes we just don't think about it. We're just, man, if you're a person who's just getting stuff done, you're just not thinking about the lovey-dovey text because you got stuff to do. You're busy. You gotta go, right? Sometimes it's insecurity. I'm not affirming you because then that makes me feel less valuable, and I don't want to feel less valuable. So I'm gonna tell you that you're great because I'm great. I want to talk. There's a variety of reasons why we don't. I'm just telling you, it is a massive, massive deal for our teams. And here's what's beautiful. If you read the Gospels and you see Jesus with the disciples were getting it wrong so much. So freaking much they were getting it wrong. And yet Jesus continued to speak through them, use them, affirm them, serve them, love them. He's the person that we look to for how this looks. You've got that frustrating person on your production team. You told him 1,000,000 times how to run presenter. And they're still 2 beats late with them lyrics. And all the worst players right? When they get it right, you better make the big deal about that they got it right. It's not, well, finally. Well, no, it's you did it. It was they were about to sing, but the lyrics were up before they had to sing, and that's winning. That's so great. That drummer who's always late, he just cannot get out of bed. And that boy's single, we don't know what's keeping him. We don't understand. He lives with his parents. They're what is going on? When he gets there on time, you're you did it. You didn't hit snooze. We're so happy you're here. Whatever. You affirm because it matters. Because it matters. Your team needs to know what the win looks like and that they were a part of making it happen. One of the best things that I'm reading in the weekend worship evals, and these are things I don't like to say, these are mandatory, but I'm inching closer and closer because of the feedback, are the worship production huddles at the end of the weekend. Like, that's team. Like, we didn't make that happen on the stage without you turning my mic up. So, and if you've got nobody to turn up, then, like, we are incomplete without each other. And so the more and more I hear about, we're doing these huddles before or during or after, you're just building solid community and collaboration at your campus. And you're gonna experience the fruits of it. There is no doubt in my mind, I'm celebrating something Morgan shared today in her eval, because it was her first 5. Her first 5 weekend at Woodcrest. So there's so much, kind of, but I know for a fact that David and Morgan's relationship at Woodcrest is foundational for the success that she's experiencing. They are so encouraging and supportive, and they champion each other, and they help each other succeed. And there's no doubt in my mind that because of that, the worship experience, the whole weekend experience at Woodcrest is just continuing to grow and get better. So it matters. It really matters. Celebrate and evaluate. Here's what we're celebrating, and here's what we're evaluating. Okay? On the flip side of that coin, you don't tell everyone everything was great when everything wasn't. Okay? We don't go, it's okay, it might not be. Like, we have to like drill down into the details to celebrate and evaluate things. Okay? So the weekend win we're talking about, were we prepared? Go back to what you defined as being prepared for your team. If your team came in prepared, celebrate that. If one person on your team who's not normally not prepared came in extra prepared, celebrate that. If your team was a wreck on Thursday and came in more prepared on Sunday, celebrate that, right? Every time they're meeting the standard of the weekend win, every time they're showing growth and they're getting better, we're celebrating. If you've got people on your team who are still heads down is directly linked to lack of preparation. You've got to talk to them about it. You can't pretend it doesn't matter. Have you guys heard of ACE reports?
Yeah.
Who knows what ACE reports are? ACE reports are secret people who you just think they're there to worship with you on Sunday. They're not. Right. They are, and then they're not. It comes back mainly about worship from ACE reports, heads down. They don't talk about they love the song, they didn't love the song. They don't talk about the volume of the drums. They are talking about people on stage who are disengaged and disconnected from the people in the congregation. So that's why you gotta go tell your bass player, dude, I love you. Like, you're awesome. I wanna see your face. So does everybody else. Tell me what you're prepping like. Tell me what your prep looks like. Drill down into those details with them. They're working full-time jobs. They've got families. They're going to school. They're going to school and they had a job. They're doing all the things. So coach them. You gotta come in more prepared next week, Stan. I don't know what else to tell you. That can't be what you tell them.
Oh my God.
You gotta be like, hey, I know that you're practicing 30 minutes on Thursday at 4:30, and we got can I sit down with you and look at your schedule? Like, let's go to coffee during the 10 o'clock. Let's go over to Depot, and I just want to help you strategize. That's how you lead people. You don't say, dude, you got to do better and walk away. You tell them how they can do better, right? You challenge them. It matters. Were we present? Were we inside of the moment? Were we engaged with each other? Were we engaged? If you are the person who's always off by yourself in the green room, you need to fix that too. If you're always like, this is like, you're singing it, and then you're like, that's not leading well. You've got to engage. You've got to engage. And I know sometimes it's 4 or 5 services. That doesn't mean you have to talk to everybody all 5 services. That's not what I'm saying. But I like what Eddie said at Hunter Park. He's carved out the 10 o'clock on Sundays as being strategic, intentional team time. So that everyone just knows, like, we go at 10, we do this thing. And he set it in motion, and that works at a campus like Hunter Park where you're together for so long. Okay, you need some space, you need to rest your voice, you don't need to be like throwing a party back in the green room, but connecting and engaging with each other only helps your engagement with each other on stage. Listen, if someone says to you, it looked like you guys were having fun, that's not sinful. That's actually a bonus. When people say, it looked like you guys were having fun, like you guys were loving, worshiping Jesus together, you can bet every single day of the week that that's affecting how people are worshiping out there. If you're just in your zone, and he's in his zone, and you don't really like him, and you told him to prepare, and he still sucks, and everything else is wrong with it, that is all on display for the church to see and feel and pick up on. She didn't come in again, even though you went over with her again. Like, it's all out there. We are fully exposed all the time. So that engagement with each other really, really matters. And listen, I'm gonna coach you on this, worship leaders, and I want you to coach your team. You cannot lead worship well with your eyes closed the whole time. I was at a worship experience not long ago, and I literally wanted to raise my hand and say, should we leave? Because I feel like you want to be alone. Or like, you're so connected to Jesus, which is amazing, but you're not in the shower, we're kind of all here. Like I need you to like be with us. Closing your eyes, of course, like sometimes we're just, I'm in, but we have to be mindful of that. If this is just how we're singing or playing or whatever, and it's just what we do the whole time, that isn't communicating we're in this together. It communicates, I'm worshiping, I don't know what you're doing. And that's not the role of the worship leader. We're also not supposed to be like, great are you, Lord, great. Like, it's not just like the whole time. There's got to be a balance. But if you don't know where you land, you should record yourself and watch. We should know like what we're presenting because it matters. Engagement is so, so huge. And for me to win when I go to the campuses, the win for me is when I see the team on stage that's completely engaged, and I see a production team that's heads up completely engaged too. It's together. We're leading so well, we're supporting so well back here with our heads up, and you're serving us in the church well by leading heads up there. That's the win. That's what we want to do. End of the weekend huddles, always evaluate your processes and your teams. How did I do? How did we do? What can I do better? What can we do better? Do not start evaluating other people until you've self-evaluated first. If your team came in unprepared, I don't even remember which worship leader this was this week, but someone put in their eval, I normally always say to my team about practicing and prepping, and this week I did it and I really saw. That's a person who's self-evaluating. My team didn't execute as well as I wanted them to. I reflected on something I could have done better, and now moving forward, I know how I'm going to do that. I've read worship leaders before who said, I came into the week not as prepared as I should have been, and I felt the effects of that across the team. So I'm going into this week prepping better, spending more time. Evaluate yourself before you evaluate other people. Okay, that really matters. So how did I do? And then how did we do? You should be evaluating your teams. You should be saying, hey, we nailed this. That felt a little tricky, and you don't have to wait until the end of the weekend to evaluate. You should be evaluating throughout the whole process, because we all get the benefit of 2 services at least, right? We get to, this is going to be a new thing in Fresno. They've only had an 11 o'clock. So we were laughing about, dude, their production leads don't know what's coming. Like, they're used to closing in at 10:45. I get up their belt and turn everything on. It's like, so it's a new day. Remember those grateful tears? Well, I'll see you at 6:30 on Sunday. It's about, right? But we've got it. We have to evaluate. We have to be talking about here's how we're doing and what can we do better. I've had worship leaders before say, rehearsal Thursday was just so, I've asked everybody to come in 20, 30 minutes earlier on Saturday because we've got to nail these things down. Like, that's part of an evaluation process. That's what you have to do. What can I do better and what can we do better? If you get to the end of the weekend and you process and you fell off, there's a chance your team experienced you as off too. So what can you do better? What can you do better to go into the weekend kind of more spirit-filled, spirit-led? Do you need to, on Saturday, do you need to have some alone time before you come in the hustle and bustle of it? I don't know what that looks like for you. I can't regulate that for you. I have to figure that out for myself. But it's worth doing some self-evaluation so that you're an optimal leader and you're getting optimal results from your team. Okay, important reminder. This is go back to what we already talked about. As you are dealing with volunteers, volunteers are awesome and volunteers are awful. Like they're mostly awesome, and then sometimes they're like, hey, I'm taking a break for the next 6 months. You're like, really? Oh yeah. I celebrate that for you. You're really trying to be authentic, but you're really having a hard time getting it, right? Hey, we've got some family stuff going on. Well, fix it. Dang it. And show us better next time. Volunteers. But I want you to change the way that you think about recruiting volunteers. We are not asking people to help. This isn't clean your bathroom, clean up your kitchen, or weed your yard. This is empowering people to serve in the kingdom of God because they've been gifted to serve. They will give an account for serving. There's gifts that they bring to the body of Christ that God has uniquely put in them, and it's on us to draw that out of them. So not, hey, I'm sure you probably can, but if you could help out, please don't ask anyone to help out. I get a twitch. Don't ask anyone to help out. We have an awesome opportunity for you to serve. You would take this team to the next level if you were able to come Thursday and Sunday. Dude, if you're available, I just want you to know we will set this whole place on fire, and you know you don't want to miss it. You're empowering people to serve. You're reminding people in the ask that they've been equipped to serve, and so they should be serving. Now that doesn't mean that he's like, dude, like my wife is home, I can't come. It's like, okay, that's understandable, right? But do you know how many times people will adjust and switch and change plans and leave later or get home sooner because you're saying this is an opportunity for you to serve and do that's gonna be amazing. As opposed to, I got no one else, so you could come and be really stupid, you can't, like whatever. Like it's huge. So empowering people to serve. This goes back to something we talked about at our gathering several months ago. We don't know why we've been gifted the way that we have, but we're responsible with what we do with it. I don't know why Adam's tone deaf and I'm not. Adam doesn't know why he's we don't know. I don't know why some guy can play the electric and the acoustic and the keys and he can play the drums. Like, I don't know why they have that gift and I don't. I don't know. We'll figure that all outside heaven. All we know is that's how we've been gifted now, and what are we doing with it? We're going to stand before God and we're going to say, here's my life, here's what I did. I hope I made you proud like I tried. And as leaders in the church, we're trying to link people to the vision of this is eternal, this matters. This is not just you being sick with your swells on the guitar. This is God's chosen you. He's given you this gift and you got to use it. Like, I'm giving you the chance, okay? Empowering people to serve. And then this, if you evaluate before you celebrate, you will deflate your team. This is just we've already talked about this, I'm not going to stay here really long. I want you to do a self-assessment and maybe ask your team, do you feel like I celebrate you enough? Do I feel like, or do you just like with me, it's like always like this evaluation piece. We've got to hold both, we've got to manage the tension of both, but celebration is the higher value. Because listen, even if your weekend eval doesn't come in as a 5, there's always something to celebrate. Did you get up on the stage and no one showed up for service? Not one single person? Then you got something to celebrate. Did your mic work? You got something to celebrate. Did your voice come through? You got something to celebrate. There's always something to celebrate. And even if you're like, dude, I'm digging this weekend. I'm digging to find it. Dig. Extract the goodness from the ground. And then evaluate all the things, but that's where you have to start. And because we know that affirmation matters to every single person, I would challenge you to just celebrate the work of God that you see Him doing in the lives of the people that serve with you. Forget what they did on the board. Forget what they did or didn't do on the guitar. Forget what they didn't do, or forget that they forgot to pray, or when they prayed, they went all over the place. Like, celebrate the work of God in people's lives. I see God doing something in your heart and in your life, and I celebrate that. God has gifted you to be in this production booth. The way that you love in church, the way that you want to serve, I just see that in you, and I celebrate that. You will take a person, and you didn't even have to pay them. You didn't have to give them money. It's just, you take them to this other level of existence because they feel seen, they feel visible, they feel valued, they feel like they're a part of something bigger than themselves, and that's what every human wants to know. So really like dive into that, dig into that, because it really, really, really matters. Okay. Any Q&A? Well, if you've got questions, I might have answers, I might not. But if there's anything about this that's unclear, or what would you say, or what would you think about, like, this is a great chance to ask. Princess, your hair matching your outfit is on point, by the way.
So a lot of times when I am filling out my weekend evaluations, I've noticed like I pretty much always have the same win, and I feel like mad about that.
Okay.
Like we did it, everybody was like on time and prepared and like, you know, whatever. Is that like a bad thing? I just.
No, it's definitely not a bad thing to celebrate. I mean, the weekend win, we've got this vision to create a dynamic worship culture, to create a dynamic weekend culture across Sandals Church. Like, that's the win for our teams. So every time you have people who, that's the vision, the wins are the preparedness, the presence, and the people part of it. Whenever your team's winning at those, like, that's really good to share and to celebrate. I think your wins can go deeper when you're engaged in really meaningful conversation with people on your teams, because that gives you other things to celebrate. Like, I didn't know this, but he drawn last week for the first time, and it was like a disaster, and he came this week and he did so great, and I'm just really sad. Like, a lot of that comes from just engaging with people on your team, or watching people on your team take another step in leadership. So if someone band leads for the first time, or if someone leads out in a solo for the first time. There's a weekend eval from this week, I can't remember who it was, maybe it was your Krista, the girl from Marina Valley. She co-led for the first time, she did a really great job. Like, that's just great to know, like, that's just great information to have and to point out. And that usually comes through conversation or observation that you have with people on your team.
Okay.
Yeah, great question. Anything else?
Sometimes I know that I try to do like the email like every time and always provide my cell phone number because I feel like that's the best form of communication for me. And there have been at least 3 times where when I get to Thursday, there's definitely a sense that some people haven't read the email at all. Or that they don't know that I'm available because they haven't read the email because they didn't text me. So I don't know how, because the form that they provide is on Planning Center. So
Right.
if they're not checking their email, then they're not gonna know that here's my cell phone, you can
Right.
contact me and I will get right back to you. So I think that's been on and off sort of a form of frustration for me, because I feel like I can't lead well if they don't know that I'm available, but I've made myself available.
Yeah.
So I don't know if there's an answer to that at this moment, but.
Well, let's start by just going back to word of mouth. In all of your Thursday rehearsals, reinforce that you get an email beginning of the week from your worship lead. You need to be checking it to know what's going on. There are so many times where this happens a lot, like in Cultivate, and it even happened with small groups last week. This woman, sometimes it's a man, whoever, they will get a DM. They'll go, I tried this and this and this, and no one gets back to me. Cultivate, you're for kindness, but you've been so unkind to me. It's like the whole thing, right? And so I'm like, whoa, like my first response is always like, I don't have a baby. No, that's not my first response. My first response is always like,
Brenda, guys.
I'm so sorry, let me look into that, yada yada. 9 times out of 10, I go back because CCD has this annual way of recording all of the things. We emailed you on October 19th at 2:37, then again on November 5th, like up, and then it goes like silent. Most times, people just aren't checking their email, like they're not, and then they wanna go, you didn't tell me. But we can do the first thing by, when we get to Thursday rehearsals, this is production and worship. Hey guys, beginning of the week, an email comes out from your leader. It's from me, or if it's, I'm a network worship leader, it's from your campus worship leader telling you all the details. Please make sure you're reading this because that's gonna have the most information that you need. We can just incorporate that into our regular communication piece on Thursdays to kind of help set a new standard for that, because that's really important.
It can also work too for Sundays after the post meeting.
Yeah,
A reminder, tomorrow there should be an email coming
Yeah,
out,
great.
if you're scheduled or whatever.
yeah, at the end of the weekend, for sure.
On that, does production want to be included on those they prefer to not.
Luke is going crazy saying yes.
What? It's awful.
It's awful?
Yeah.
Help.
Helpful. Yeah, man, that's.
I'll let her say
Yes, I want
it.
to be awful.
Include us, it's awful, but.
So point of clarification on that, so when we do the email, we pull up the whole team, there's an option for sending out to everyone, the production, like leadership for everyone on the production team, which includes.
I think it says all scheduled people.
So from a production perspective, would you like the production lead only, which is what I usually do?
Yeah, I would say all leadership and worship.
Guys, get that?
All leadership and worship,
Yeah.
not production volunteers, just your production.
Yeah, we'll communicate the relevant info.
Yeah, production lead should know that, plus there might be a translate to like how this applies
Yeah.
to the production side of things.
And if the host is already scheduled under leadership, they should be in the know on the email too, so they will get that information as well.
Put them in there.
Another great way to.
Front load all about to drop. Yes, I want hosts in the know for the entire service. Yes,